Hey everyone, welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we teach future survivors how to play the game by criticizing current players. I'm your host, Ryan Stacy, and today, yes, it's finale night. We are talking about the finale of Survivor 47, The Last Stand, where all of our final contestants went out to Alcatraz Island to fight each other.
It's a really long episode title.
X-Men 3, The Last Stand.
Oh.
They fought Magneto in this episode of
Gotcha.
Survivor.
You know, Genevieve does look strangely like the Jean Grey actress.
Famke Janssen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see it, so I appreciate your reference.
No, it's just The Last Stand. There's no X-Men involved here. Unfortunately, though, I would love to see some X-Men compete on Survivor.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, Survivor 47 is in the books. We finished it. I didn't even introduce you guys. I'm so excited about the season. We have Derek Kubicek and Josh Wessler here to give us their thoughts and feelings on this season as a whole. Guys, what did you think of the Survivor 47 finale?
It was great. It's interesting with the new format. We'll see if they bring this over to future seasons. This two-part, quote-unquote, finale. Technically, this is part 2 of the finale. But having 4 people just right off the bat in the game going into a challenge right away. But it's the last challenge of the season where someone not only is going to get voted out, but like the last chance basically before fire making was interesting to try to get used to. We're used to, having either 5 or 6 people just right off the bat and, challenge after challenge. So it made for a different feeling, I would say, for a finale night. Usually it's this big, huge event, and it still is because it's
that
finale.
Challenge was.
It's a finale of Survivor, but it seemed like it wasn't as action-packed with a ton of stuff in there compared to usual. I still loved it. It was great, and I was very happy with the way that it turned out. But just a different experience.
Before we get into Derek's statement, we're going to do spoiler alert so Derek can say what he wants to say. Spoiler alert, what are you doing here if you haven't watched yet? Go watch it. Okay, Derek, go.
For the first time in a long time, it feels, we had something that wasn't orthogonal at all. This was what was expected. We had a winner, a dominant winner, edited as a dominant winner. In our Rewind series, we recently did season 30. Everyone knew, and Mike Holloway, who, by the way, came up tonight, won that final challenge.
Some strays, too.
Yeah, undeserved strays, by the way, especially for one of the most unlikable casts in their Survivor personas in history. Mike Holloway was a rootable character.
Yeah, and Ben.
Rachel
Ben deserved it.
Rachel was a very deserving winner, edited as dominant, and because of how Survivor edits sometimes, I got fooled into thinking that something was going to happen. We've got 2 hours of episode to fill, and 15 minutes into the episode, Rachel wins final immunity. I just didn't believe it.
Yep.
So I am very happy, especially to see a female winner, especially in the era of Erica, where no one expected Erica to win based on her edit.
Yep.
And Marianne,
that she got a fair shake through the entire season, that she was a threat. She was a big threat. She was dominant. And then it came through in the votes. It felt really, really good to see that.
Yeah. This was a refreshing edit for a female winner, especially with a dominant female winner. It's just that something Survivor has always edited particularly well. I want to go back to Game Changers, where, it was obvious Sarah was going to win, but they didn't really showcase her game as well as it could have been. I think that's one of the primary examples. And then, obviously, Erica got a terrible edit. Marianne got screen time, but, again, it could have been better. And she wasn't exactly a dominant winner. She was someone who surprised people, I think, at the end. So, a little different there. But this was a dominant winner shown in a dominant light, which is fun. Maybe a little predictable, but I wouldn't call it boring. I'd call it predictable, not boring. I think those are distinctly different things.
It's satisfying.
Yes, it's very satisfying.
So sometimes the whole point of falling action in a story is you're just getting resolution to what has been built up. Rachel was built up. Rachel came through. Guess what? At the end of a lot of movies, the good guys win. And I'm not saying that Sam and Sue are villains. I'm saying that the games were built up that Rachel was going to win. And she did.
I think that's why it was okay having the immunity challenge and Rachel winning the final immunity challenge 10 or 15 minutes into the episode, because even going into tonight, I was pretty convinced that Rachel was going to win. One, based off of edit, it seemed like it was the Genevieve versus Rachel showdown last episode, where it's like, okay, one of these people probably is going to win. Like, yeah, Sam can still win, but Rachel would have to lose and then also go out at fire. But, you know, we've had the edit in the backstory that Rachel is good at fire. So it just seemed like everything was making sense for Rachel to end up winning it in the end, just purely based off of the edit. So it was more so just further confirmation of what I felt going into tonight.
I mean, I want to go ahead and lock it in in this new era of Survivor. This is my favorite season of the 7. I think it's got a satisfying winner. It didn't have too many dumb twists. There would have been like one I had to complain about at the beginning of the merge where, you know, people got divided again. I'm just like, I just want a straightforward vote. But that's happened literally every season in the new era. Satisfying winner, not too many dumb twists, great cast. So, and no quits, which is what broke the tie between this one and 45 for me.
This season is just a series of satisfying moments. When we talk about the pre-merge, if you rewind the first half of this season of the podcast that we did, almost everyone in the pre-merge played themselves out. They big brained it and they immediately got their comeuppance and is like, all right, yep, that's expected. All right, that's expected. Then you throw in a couple Operation Italy's, a couple blindsides,
a downfall of Rome.
Which is
funny, like more Italian stuff.
Yeah,
Mamma mia.
The downfall of Rome. You've got contestants shoving twists back in production's face.
Yep.
And then culminating in a dominant and satisfying winner. I am convinced this is also my favorite of the new era after thinking about it and sitting on it for a few minutes.
Oh gosh, I can never rank them right away after this season happened. It's definitely near the top of the new era for sure, and it's not really that close, but I'm not really sure. Just because I like to let it air a little bit. What was it, 44?
Jam Jam, yeah.
With Jam Jam. I loved that season, but now looking back, like, I don't know, you know, I would maybe have to rewatch it. And, you know, I feel wishy-washy on like some of the people in the cast now after the fact. So a lot of things can change just based on that stuff. And so it completely depends on how you end up looking at it. I would have to revisit it, honestly, like in a couple years. I don't think I'd be able to revisit it soon.
We'll do our rewind 2. We'll rewind it all again.
This is why Josh is the memorability consultant. He's always thinking about how's past Josh gonna feel about this
5 years from now.
How is future Josh gonna feel about past Josh feeling about this season?
I am a sucker for recency bias.
Most are.
And most are. And you know, we don't really, since we're going through it right now, I will shout out Marcus on Blue Sky. Thank you very much, Blue Sky. He kind of asked that are seasons 45 through 47 actually better than 41 through 44 here in the new era? Or is it just recency bias?
I think it's a combination of recency bias and doing away with unpopular twists.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yep. So,
like the hourglass twist alone and the under-edited winner, even if I was satisfied with the Erica win, for example, it's really hard to forgive production for interfering with those players' experiences on Survivor.
Knowledge is power.
And do or die.
Yeah, so now the players have figured out, again, by season 47, how to be like, no, I don't think so.
Control a vote. That's another one. That's what hurts 44 for me, is the control a vote. And then, you know, satisfying winner. I don't think 46 is very satisfying. That was a whole thing.
That was a whole podcast. I disagree, but there's no question here on 47, and that's why we're here tonight.
Yep. 45 and 47 are the two favorites, and 47 doesn't have any quits. So.
Ryan, we haven't asked you yet. How did you feel about the split finale, or just, you know, really the abridged finale?
I feel nothing. It was Survivor I enjoy.
Technically, we got 1 extra hour of Survivor.
Yeah, which I'm fine with. More time to get to know these people. I just want to get to know the people and be invested in the story and see it play out without too much crazy BS.
So, and a little insight on that. That was actually a note from CBS because this came up on the On Fire podcast. Jeff mentioned that CBS came to them and said, "Hey, could you extend it another episode? Like, if we needed you to." They just met internally as a team and like, duh. Like, yes, we can figure this out. Like, we can stretch this into 14 episodes. We'll do a 2-part finale. We won't do like a double boot, whatever it might be. And so hopefully that's a really good sign that CBS is looking at Survivor as far as like good, valuable content that people are looking for.
Well, have you seen their other shows?
For a long time. Go watch Fire Country.
Look, I haven't seen like any of the other shows, and I hear
Exactly.
So I don't want to dunk on their other shows too much, but they have a couple of real terrible shows.
Those Ghosts commercials make me feel so seen.
Yep.
They're so good.
Yeah, let's CBS, if you're listening, keep those Ghost promos as long as like the actors like doing them. Keep them going. Those are amazing.
Where they just talk about the season of Survivor, and weirdly enough, they sound like big fans.
Yep.
Too. That's my favorite part. Is it feels like they understand the lore.
They're contractually obligated to watch the season.
Look, we don't need to do that. But if you have any Survivor fans in your Ghost cast and you want to keep doing these promos and pay them a little extra to do it, let's do it. I love it.
I'm on board.
It's some of the best advertising I've ever seen.
I agree.
Should we jump into this finale?
Finally.
Yes.
All right, let's get into it. So we're down to the final four. We have Teeny, who at this point, as a reminder, is Josh and my winner pick.
Solid winner pick, too.
And Derek has Rachel.
Yep. And by the way, I've stuck a fork in both Teeny and Sue.
Yep. So we have Teeny, Sue, Rachel, and Sam. That's our final four. We're going to go straight into the immunity challenge. It's really, really fun. But Rachel is going to end up winning. And so that's it. We can stop here.
Yeah,
Rachel
we're done.
won.
Basically.
Yeah.
We did it in Worlds Apart. We're doing it here too, folks.
I was so confident. Like, yep, Rachel's won. Like, is something crazy gonna? No, that would be so dumb. No, it's not gonna happen. So I was just like uber confident that Rachel was gonna win.
Yeah, and I need to own this.
Yep.
15 minutes into the episode, we did crown a winner, and I did say, is Sam gonna do this? Is she gonna give up immunity because Sam gets in her head that she needs to take him out? And the fact that she built the fire in the first episode, she's overconfident that she can beat him and he's gonna come back? Until she said, I will not be giving up immunity tonight, I thought that Sam was going to beat her in fire and win the game.
I mean, just trying to find reasons for why it's not going to work out the way that we think it is, because that is the only way that she could lose the game, is if she got in her head.
Yep.
That she had not done enough. Insecurities creep in. It's like, was my game good enough? Can I beat Sam? Sam has a lot of friends on the jury. Played a pretty good social game. Was the underdog. Do I need to do this one other thing and take Sam out? No. The answer is no, but every single time something came up, as like, even when Sam was practicing fire and like little comments that he was making to Rachel, I'm like, oh, is it just gonna be one little thing that gets in Rachel's head and she changes her mind? No.
Nope, absolutely not.
And I love that when at Tribal Council, Rachel should be like, I don't feel like I need, I want to challenge during my spot. I don't feel the need to give this up to win another challenge to prove something.
Not only that, but you won 4.
Yeah, but that specifically, what does that prove? Like, I won already. Like the way she said it, I loved it.
Continuing the trend of what Derek said about this cast basically just throwing things
Yes.
back in production space, the trend continues.
Well, and poetically speaking, if she would have done it, I would have said this tracks with what this cast has done, just big braining themselves right out of the game. It's actually incredibly satisfying to have a winner who did not big brain herself out of the game. So it was really nice. To touch on what Ryan said, though, there have been people in the past, Heidi, for example, who wins that final immunity challenge, and they need to give it up and make fire to win.
They absolutely should, and it's stupid that we need to do this.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been saying it since season 1. Caroline brought it up tonight. Social awareness is probably your number one friend out there. You need to understand where you are and what you need to do. Rachel understood where she was.
Yep.
And that she didn't need to do anything.
Look, Sue probably needed to put herself in a fire making, but how about we just get rid of fire making and we get rid of this dumb thing? Rachel's going to get back to camp and she's going to tell the others, Sue's coming with me because she's been loyal to me. Sam and Teeny, you're going to fire. And Rachel's going to work with Teeny and try and coach her because she wants to knock Sam out of the game. Everything's making sense. It turns out Sam has never practiced fire before.
I'm worried that the people at home are going to look at me and say, wow, you're really stupid. Why didn't you practice making fire? Well, okay.
Yeah.
Sam, results-oriented thinking. You won fire, so in a way, you get to say, ha-ha. But if you're going on Survivor, people, don't be like Sam.
Don't be like Sam.
Don't be like Sam.
Look, I loved Sam on this season.
Yes.
If Sam had ended up pulling this thing out, if Sam had knocked Rachel out of the game or Rachel lost the fire making and Sam won, I would have been perfectly happy and pretty stoked about it. That was not great. Learn how to do fire. Practice it beforehand. Look, if middle school Ryan can do it and make 6 fires in very quick succession with Flint, you can do it. Okay? You're an adult. You can do it.
You just have to, give yourself a chance because all it might take is some gusts of wind and then you win.
Which is what happens, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Rachel brings Sue to the end. TD and Sam square off fire, and Sam is going to come from behind and win at fire. I was pretty shocked, I gotta say. I thought he was so dead.
Teeny got absolutely screwed by the wind, but Mother Nature.
That's what happens. So yeah, Sam defeats Teeny. Teeny's knocked out at fire making.
Are you okay? So when you're doing fire making, are you able to block the wind, like with your body? Like, can you stand up and like move out of your seat?
I have never heard of any rule that you can't do that.
Because
so, why wouldn't you?
She had a roaring fire here, so maybe just toss a couple extra sticks on there, figure out the best position for your body, and just try to protect it because it was there.
That's how in Survivor of the Amazon. That's how the men. That was the men versus women season. There was a reward challenge that involved making fire. It's exactly how the men won. They used their big bulky bodies and made a wall of flesh to stop the wind. That's how they did it. Do it here. I know you're only one person, but you can do it here. And if production doesn't want you to do that, make them yell at you to stop you.
Make them stop the challenge and make you start it over.
Yeah, or something like that.
It's your game.
Fight production tooth and nail. I am a big supporter of that.
Like, what are they going to make you do? Stay on your butt, like on the stool? No, I don't think so.
They can put cameras all over the place. Just stand where the best spot is for you, and until you're not allowed to. But yeah, we're gonna lose Teeny here. Best and worst player of the Final Four. For best player, I'm going to give mine to Rachel because she won immunity and made the right choices at fire making.
Rachel won the game.
Yeah, Rachel won the game. Yes.
It's Rachel. She won the game, and she didn't let any insecurities or anything like that force her into thinking that she needed to make fire.
Jared, do you have a worst player?
I don't have a worst player.
Nah, I do not either.
Yeah, nothing here. I wanted to say one note. It doesn't matter. Because Teeny gets eliminated, but she did look over at Rachel and be like, what do I do now? And Rachel's coaching her through fire making at the challenge. That is a bad look in front of the jury. You got to do or die, not to trigger anybody, on your own here. So that was a bad look, but we can't give it to Teeny.
That's fair. I'm not going to give one to her either.
You can't.
No, not Teeny. I'm not going to give one to Sue either, but it might have been a good idea to pitch yourself of going into fire. You're not going to win against Rachel in the end, but we say on the podcast, just do literally every single thing that you can until it's over.
Sue wanted that third place money. That's what I think.
And before we move on, I noticed a change in my feelings that I wanted to acknowledge publicly. I would rather see an idol move back to expiration at 6 as a solution and keeping some level of fire making in the game because of the way it made me feel. I'm not saying it's better or worse for the game. I'm saying as a viewer, this time around, and this might be recency bias, and I reserve the right to change my mind in 48. I liked having fire making here. I did. It made me feel really, really excited. An interesting way to do it would be, what if you vote for a fire making challenge and then you have a fire making challenge?
Let's just not do it. Let's do it when there's a tie and it's more organic. That is exciting. That is fun. Let's just vote people out.
I'm just saying it didn't make me that angry. I know we would end up with plenty of ties and plenty of fire making, but I'm just saying, if there are those two solutions, I think right now I am 55% move all idols back to 6.
But there's a third solution that's better, which is not doing it.
If you have to have fire, I think an idol should move back.
Yeah. And that's why I'm just acknowledging my feelings. I'm not trying to change anybody's minds. I just would feel like a hypocrite if I didn't say something.
And I'm saying this as I don't think fire is going anywhere anytime soon. We will get a final 2 before we get fire making removed.
Remove fire making. Look, I know it's not the popular answer for a certain host of Survivor, but I don't give a crap. Get rid of fire making. It's garbage, and we've done it, and I'm tired of it, and whatever. I can only say it every season. Oh wait, I'm gonna keep saying it every season. It's still bad.
I can only say it every season, so I think I will.
Yeah, I think I will. Yep. It's bad, and it shouldn't be here. Josh, we've lost our winner picks.
Oh man.
So
I going into tonight, I thought she had it.
I assume.
So you picked Sue?
Yeah, of
you're going
course.
for Sue?
Yeah. Yeah, Rachel.
Yeah, it's Rachel. So
Join me.
As much as Derek was trying to sow seeds of doubt into our brains in that moment, it's Rachel.
Yeah, it's Rachel. So we all did it. Hooray!
First try.
First try.
Hey, that was only my first switch to the game. Teeny's my day one pick.
That's only my second. You know, justice for Keyshawn.
Oh, I think that was my fourth. that was rough.
You've been here the longest, but
Asia, Keyshawn, Gabe, I think, to Rachel after that. So I think it was my fourth. So I may have won the Survivor pool, but in terms of a winner pick transfers, woohoo!
Who are you? Me from Survivor Marquesas?
Your boy didn't do too well.
All right, we're going to go to final tribal council. The first question is, how do you guys think your games will be remembered, and is that important to you? And Rachel basically kind of steals what Sam was going to say, which they kind of talked about through their games a little bit at like the breakfast. And I thought this was clever on Rachel's, kind of steal Sam's thunder a little bit. She knows Sam is going to say he was the underdog. She says, I was an underdog. I was on the outs. I didn't know what happened with the Sierra vote. And I came from the bottom and won it. But honestly, it doesn't really matter. I don't really care how I'm remembered. And Sam, on the other hand, he's like, I was scrappy. I never gave up. I found a way. I do care how I remembered. It's really important. And I got to say, I really like this answer from Sam. Like, I don't know. It would be important to me if I was in their spot.
My thought when Sam made that answer was, like, Rachel's answer will not lose you any votes. Mm-hmm. But Sam's answer, there have been jurors in Survivor history who would be like, Rachel, that's crap. Final Tribal Council is for bearing your soul and letting us know who you are.
And maybe that is she.
And I'm not saying I'm not saying that she's not that way. She might not care. There are some people who would just never buy that in a million years. We've had people say, like, I don't buy your piety. I don't buy your humility. No, you made it to the end. Why aren't you owning your game? And they've lost jury votes for that. So Sam can gain votes by taking this angle and saying, like, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying I want to, but it does matter to me. It's being truthful. I like that.
Yeah, it seemed like the jury was more responsive to Sam's answer, too.
Yeah. And Sue's going to say, hey, guys, it's my birthday. I'm also 59. Haha, fooled you all.
Hey, I have this big secret. I'm going to blow it on the first answer.
Hey, segues are weird.
But hers is like, I'm going to be seen as hopefully inspirational, loyal, and honest. Loyal and honest is no way to play Survivor, but hey, that's how you played it.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about Sue now, because we're not going to talk about Sue again.
No.
For the rest of this podcast. Honestly, there's not much here. I don't think that Sue honestly could have done much differently. We talk very much about how sometimes you just put on a cast with certain people and there's no way that you're going to win. But Sue is 59 years old. She's the old woman on the tribe. She kept the secret. She wasn't a nothing physically. She was an asset around camp. She was well-liked, well enough. She had a little bit of a schism with Kyle that seemed more one-sided than not. But, I mean, generally speaking, she was a good person, a decent player who came up against two worthy opponents at the end. I'm not saying there's many seasons where she wins, but I think I can really appreciate how far she came. And she deserves those flowers. The last person to even, sniff this would have been Janet in Island of the Idols, which we try not to reference. Janet would have almost certainly won, but she didn't make it to the finale. Sue did. Oldest woman to ever do it. And the oldest person ever to make it to Final Tribal Council. That's incredible.
Yeah, Sue's biggest flaw is putting other people's games before her own and then getting too laser focused in on someone who might have done her wrong a billion years ago.
Yes.
And wanting to get them out.
It's been 84 years.
If she changes those two things and is able to be, a little bit more cutthroat and just show that you have a little bit, more game, you can still be loyal and just change those other things and win. So there's something there.
Do something.
You got to do something. She is likable at least. And she won a challenge.
She did win a challenge.
And she found an idol.
And kept it secret.
Yep. Kept it secret, kept it safe. Next question. What were their biggest mistakes? Rachel said she was unaware of how fast the game was going at first and changed things up at the Sierra vote. And this is where she reveals that she was spying on everybody on the beach, which was great. I loved that. Sam says he didn't tie up loose ends. The Andy vote, which is something we heavily criticized him for. And he's going to say, I learned to leak information. Rachel's like, oh, well, that didn't really matter. It didn't really help you at all. So Rachel kind of shut down a lot of Sam's points. Just like, nope. You're not getting this point in. No.
It kind of worked both ways. Sam was taking the same strategy with Rachel's game. Whenever idols, advantages, or, the move where she was sneaking up on them, his strategy for Final Tribal Council seemed to be take whatever she's saying and just downplay it. Say that it didn't matter or that it was lucky. It wasn't actually something of her own doing. And it seemed like it was actually kind of working for a while there. I don't think he ever actually had a chance, but I think he was giving himself the best chance possible to win.
Sam points out part of his strategy was he intentionally elevated Rachel's threat level, going back to her funeral, made her look like the biggest target, take her out, he's not the target. And Rachel correctly points out, that's great. You didn't take me out though. If you're going to go that way, you have to take that person out. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to.
Correct.
Another good point, Andy brings up that Rachel is the worst voting record out of the three. And Rachel says, I went into wanting to play one way, had to play a different way. I had to change and adapt because the way I was playing wasn't working. Which, great answer, I thought.
By the way, also harkens back to Mike Holloway.
Yep.
Not a great voting record.
Nope.
And I think this is where Sam's best answer came from.
Yeah. Because Rachel says she couldn't get people to do her bidding. And Sam's like, yeah, that's not good. And then he says, I had the most votes against me out of any of the three of us, and I voted correctly every single time. Now, I did go back and look this up. And the only reason he voted correctly every single time is because his vote was stolen at the Sierra vote. Yes, you're right, but also asterisks.
Yeah.
Hey, fact is fact, though.
Yep.
He is right.
But there's a footnote.
You can footnote everything.
But there's a correct and rightful and deserved footnote. We want to know why it's deserved?
Why?
Because I say so.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that's what matters.
Ryan is the one who's writing the footnotes in the annals of history. Mm-hmm. Survivor history, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
He's the author.
And then a question that gets asked is how did you push forward when you hit rock bottom? And everyone says their family, blah, blah, blah. One thing that Rachel says, and I think that's really key to her win, I think this might have probably won a couple votes that were a little on the fence, maybe someone like Sierra, because this was her question. Rachel brings up something she struggles with is owning her own accomplishments. When she succeeds at something, owning the fact that, I deserve this, I did this. And her plan was she really wanted to get to Final Tribal Council and own this and really, say, I did this, I'm great. And I think that won a few people over, because that was a really great answer from Rachel. I think that definitely won some people over. People who have confidence issues, people who feel like they can't always own what they do and be proud of their accomplishments for whatever reason. I think that probably, I think it spoke to me, and it spoke to a lot of people on the jury, I thought it was great.
Yeah, it goes back to the insecurity part, is what you're doing enough? Is it enough in the eyes of the jury? Is it enough when someone like Sam is next to you trying to downplay everything that you did during the game, saying that you got lucky? Oh, the idol was just in your fries. You didn't actually do a whole lot here. No, I played a really good game. Yeah, I got these advantages, but I either worked hard when I had them, played them perfectly, had a great social game to know when to play that stuff perfectly, won a ton of challenge. There's so many things that you did correctly. Sure, it's fine to get lucky. You have to get lucky in Survivor to win the game, and that's okay. You played a great game. Be proud of it.
Yep.
The only thing I'll add, when you're presenting answers like this, because I agree with everything that's been said, it's nice if you have actions to support that you were actually moving in that direction. And I want to go back to Rachel not handing off immunity and taking on Sam herself. That is an action that validates that she is trying to say, I've done enough. And then she can come right back in Final Tribal Council and say, I did. I put a stamp on it, signed, sealed. You guys have to deliver me to the finish line now. It's in your hands, but I did this.
Yep.
It's a good answer.
It's a phenomenal answer. I really loved this answer. And Rachel's going to win 7-1-0. Kyle's going to vote for Sam. Seems like it was really emotional. They had some sort of really, really tight bond.
It seemed that Kyle and Sam are really good friends.
Yep.
And Kyle is going to vote for his friend to win the money.
That tracks.
We've seen this in many other seasons where someone just throws that one vote on someone to get second place. if it was really close, maybe he would have actually voted for Rachel. Who knows?
I'm glad Sam got second.
I'm glad Sam got second. He deserved second.
Yeah, he absolutely deserved second place. But that is it. Rachel's our winner, and boy, oh boy, is she a fantastic winner. Really, really happy with how this played out. Also, in our friend group that we do a league where we make our winner picks as well. And the winner gets a buff. I had Rachel, so I won the buff, and I'm very, very happy because the only other time I've won this in our league, for someone who loves Survivor as much as I do, you'd think I'd be better at the winner pick part of it. I'm not. The only other time I got it right was Island of the Idols, and who wants to wear that buff?
I'm proud of you. I will say, I do get a moment to brag as well, because, and we said this on the podcast episode last time, send in your predictions because then it's written down out there and you can brag about it for the rest of your life if you so choose. I predicted, maybe not the actions exactly, but I got the placements exactly. I had Rachel, then Sam, then Sue, then Teeny. Now, I did say that Sam was going to win immunity, but we can look past that. And I got the vote.
You got the rankings.
I got the placements exactly right, and I got the vote spread right.
Proud of you.
Thanks.
Derek, anything you want to brag about?
Well, other than the Survivor pool and the numerous predictions that I got right throughout the season, whether or not it came to fruition exactly the way I predicted, I still feel really good about the Genevieve stuff. I need to own something, though. Way back in episode 1, this was a write that down from episode 1, and it's something I'm going to be paying attention to going forward. If we make throwaway predictions, especially early in the season, I'm gonna write that down. And we're going to have accountability sessions. I only tracked one for me this time, and it was they didn't vote Andy out first. Agata is not winning this season because none of the other players will respect that.
Oh, you did say that. And you were very strong about that.
And come Final Tribal Council, the only two people, actually come the finale, the only two people who had a chance to win the game were Gatas, and Andy was on the rise before he had his ceremonious dismissal. So I was wrong.
So you got.
I got
Gata?
Yeah, I got Gata.
Something like that.
I done got Gata. So to all of the Gata members out there who listen to this podcast, and especially Andy, I was wrong. And I stuck a fork in Andy after episode 1. I was right, but I was also wrong. Because he did find a way. He never gave up. He engineered Operation Italy. There was a path to victory at the end. So that prediction I made in episode 1, and at least parts of it, everyone was like seemingly in agreement with how bad it looked and how wrong of a move it was, and how awful it is to lose John Lovett that early. We were wrong. I was wrong, and I own that. And the listeners deserve to know when I'm that wrong.
It's frequent. I'm never wrong.
And this is why Ryan will lose Survivor.
I would like to make more notes, though. I like that. I'm going to make some more notes in future episodes about when Ryan and Derek make claims on
I
the
don't
podcast.
need accountability. We don't need to fact check anything I say.
We can hold Ryan accountable for him.
I mean, we usually get to do it live. You plant a new flag every week.
Yep.
But there are just some that, you don't get a payoff for a long time.
Yep.
And this was one of those times where we got to the end and I was like, yeah, write that down. I was wrong.
And that's the beauty of Survivor. If you're wrong, who cares? It's great. Oh, darn. Yeah. I'm wrong all the time. Just not about
That's why we're here. We're here to have fun.
Yeah. It's fun to make bold guesses and be right. And if you're wrong, who cares?
And become a legend.
Yep. Let's wrap up this season. Let's get into best and worst player of the season. We only count people who make the merge. Josh, start us off. Who's your best player of the season?
I'm going to give it to Rachel. There's actually a lot of good players on this season. For a long time, if Genevieve just sniffed the final 3, she was going to win it all. If Rachel would have been ousted at final fire making, Sam wins the game in a really good job at just kind of survival mode. There are a lot of people who are worthy of it, but she just played a dominant game.
Kyle was on a legendary immunity run that you wouldn't be able to take it away from him if he wins 6 or 7 challenges, right? There were a lot of people who could have won in a lot of different ways.
Yep. But I think the most consistently good, all-around best, and was really great at every aspect of the game was Rachel. Rachel's my best.
Yeah, Rachel's got no shortfalls as a Survivor player at least none that shone through in her game that I would even really criticize.
The only parts that she struggled were in the pre-merge.
Yep.
The time when you just had to make it through.
Everyone's just finding their feet, learning how to play.
There were times when Gata was at its lowest that I'm like, oh, wow, Rachel is not good at this game. Oops.
Well, the biggest thing we were criticizing Rachel for in the pre-merge was, hey, maybe you should be a little more committal with Andy. You're not doing enough with Andy here. I said Andy should be the first one out. Andy should have been the first one out. And by the way, if Andy plays again, because we got to see more of his game, he should still be the first one out. So Rachel being on the beach day one was, I don't really want to play with that. And Sam and Sierra were essentially like, no, we're going to play with that. We're going to do that.
Worst player of the season, I'm going to give mine to Rome. And I know people are going to say, well, like, that was the earn the merge part of the game. No, they were all on the same beach. They all competed for immunity.
Individual immunity.
No, that's dumb. That was a merge. This is a merge with extra steps. So I count Rome as part of the merge. If you want my next worst, first of all, Rome, the big thing with Rome is just a horrendously bad social game. That's the most important element. So Rome is just horrible at the social game. Sounds like he continues to be in real life as well. And I don't think anyone's got anything nice to say about him anymore. So yeah, Rome kind of sucks. We're going to count Rome. We're counting Rome. Rome counts. My dishonorable mention goes to Sue because she didn't do anything. You got to do something.
Well, by Ryan's rules, I will also agree that Rome is far and away the worst player. I'm only going to give out one dishonorable mention, and because Rome gets to be the tops, I'm going to go in a different direction with my dishonorable mention, and I'm going to say Teeny. Mm-hmm. And it's not because Teeny didn't have a pretty decent social game with most of the jury. It's if you were on her bad side, it really, the edit came through at the end where she wasn't very nice to you and she wasn't very nice behind your back. She was always looking for validation. She got fooled and manipulated more than the average bear on Survivor, enough to get the first, I think, ever supercut of me being manipulated. That is also a surefire way to make it to the end and be a 0-vote finalist. Like, who didn't fool Teeny? And I don't say that disparagingly. I don't mean for it to, because it's not her. It's just her game this time. So as she played in this game, I would say worthy of my dishonorable mention if Rome is not eligible to the ears of the listener.
Yeah, since Rome is eligible, it has to be Rome.
Yep.
Like it has to be Rome. It's so bad. I don't think you can give it to Sue as the dishonorable mention just because she didn't do enough, but I thought she was perfectly fine for, just being there. Like I said earlier, she won a challenge. She found an idol. Yeah, none of that stuff really mattered because she was never in danger. She had a pretty good social game. Yeah, maybe she rubbed a couple of people, just basically Kyle, like the wrong way at times. And she disagreed with Andy and got mad at him. But other than that, like, it was just kind of a nothing. So I would rather give it to someone like Teeny for my dishonorable mention. There was a while in my rankings that I had Teeny at the top. Because my thought process was Teeny's there. I think that she can win this game. All she has to do is basically get to the end because I think that she has the best social game of anyone in the game. And while that might be a little true, or it was true for a while during the game, eventually she just burned one person after another because of what? Not really any reason. And she was a negative when it came to strategic game, being able to read people, being able to read situations. She was very easily manipulated with just a very blatant lie when it came to Operation Italy and everything surrounding that. It was the reason that a lot of people's games were ruined. And overall, just not very good at Survivor.
Fair.
A lot of egg on Teeny's face when this was said and done.
Very fair. I'll give two dishonorable mentions. I'll give one to Sue and I'll give one to Teeny. One for doing nothing, one for doing bad things. But Rome is the worst of the lot.
Yeah, we could all agree on that.
All right. Jeff Watch. Derek, was there anything you wanted to say in Jeff Watch?
I have a little something. Because for the most part, we got New Era Jeff. But we got Jeff verbally acknowledging on this season that the contestants don't love the twists. And he might have been more, tongue-in-cheek while he made this acknowledgement. Oh, what are you talking about the idols? Everyone knows about the amulets, blah, 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 blah. He's putting on a show, but I have to believe that hits him at some level. And I'm going to be honest, I skipped the On Fire podcast this season, just life stuff. I don't know if he talked about it there. I think Josh listens.
Yeah, I listen. It's been pretty good.
So I plan on doing that in the off season. There's maybe a way to revisit this season for myself, but that on-air acknowledgement of like the frustration of planning this twist and the contestants basically saying, no. I hope he internalizes that and takes it a little personally and tries to fix it for next time.
Or he'll double down, put even more in.
Which it could go either way. We have yet to see in season 49 how that plays out.
It's interesting when things come up on the podcast, if it's something that the guest says or a fan says or something in the show happens and he acknowledges like, oh, like I never really thought about it that way. I think Jeff at times can be surprisingly closed off to some of those thoughts. And sometimes it just needs to break through in order to have a realization that's like, that something's not working. Otherwise he'll just assume that it's a great idea and like, this is the best like thing that we can do until shown otherwise. So maybe some of the things in this season are those things that are being shown otherwise.
I always got to remind people that Jeff Probst had no idea what Survivor was. Richard Hatch and probably several other people on Borneo figured it out before he did. And I'd argue Jeff still doesn't have it figured out, but that's a whole nother conversation.
That's not Jeff's fault. Jeff's role on the first season of Survivor was not to understand Survivor before everyone else. It's for the players to understand.
I disagree.
I'm only defending him through like season 1, because I think after season 1, season 2, when your people who are coming on after that have all seen a season or two, you need to have a pretty good understanding of what the show of Survivor is. Yep. Then there are big pivotal moments like season 19 where you really learn what Survivor is.
Yep.
And those are maybe some of the lessons that I think Jeff doesn't have.
Yep.
But I kind of like that he's a little disconnected. I don't love how it manifests sometimes. I wish he was more curious.
I could do a whole podcast on this. But let's move on. Weather report. Anything you want to say?
There's absolutely nothing to say.
Perfect. Last thing we got to talk about is the most memorable moment of the season. Josh is our memorability correspondent. Josh, what do you think is going to be the most memorable moment of this season?
There's one option. It's Operation Italy. As much as I hated it, once again, great move. It never should have happened. Absolutely never should have happened. And he took out someone who I was rooting for in Caroline. So I will forever be salty about that. But I will recognize that it was the easily the most memorable moment of the entire season. And I think a lot of people will argue of the new era.
It might be the best move of the new era. It very well could be.
Move or moment. You know, either way you look at it, I think you can argue that point.
I think you're right. Yeah, I'd have to really think about it, but it's certainly in the conversation.
I want to just bring up some other fun moments from the season. They don't win formally, but I love in episode 1 when everyone heard Gabe drop the idol box down the side of the mountain. I loved when Sue cut that rope and a bloody Skyrim lantern drops her idol onto the ground with red paint.
That was hilarious.
It harkened back to like the blood on our hands that we had a couple seasons ago. Yep. We loved it then. This was even more hilarious because there was no choice. Like the choice was cutting the rope. After that, you just have a mess.
There's a bit of murder.
Production inexplicably having Rome jump into the well water. That's disgusting. Like
this isn't day one.
yeah, and it's not that it was Rome, but it's like having a contestant jump into their well water.
We're gonna be drinking out of this,
Bruh, don't do that. What if they were the tribe with no flint?
The Pirates of the Caribbean / Saw challenge.
Yeah, that was so good. Love that.
That
Great
was
design.
Fun.
Rome hosting for Jeff for a brief moment,
and then immediately getting a comeuppance.
Great. Lots of good stuff. But I do think it's Operation Italy.
Yeah, I think it has to be. But there have been a lot of little fun moments, and that's just meant to validate what Ryan and I at least talked about at the beginning of the podcast. I think this season will age better than a lot of what we've had in the new era.
We never really talked about any of the poll stuff. So we did ask a couple of polls before we move on and wrap up the season here. We'll skip over the Final Four because I think that one was so obvious. Yeah. So to the big one that everyone cares about, did the right person win? As usual, I asked both Twitter and Threads, and on Twitter, 78% of people said yes.
Good.
That the right person won.
Should have been higher, but okay.
Yeah, that's an odd number for me.
And on Threads, 85%. So a little bit higher, but still,
That feels more right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And by the way, to be clear, we would have all voted for Rachel, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Okay. Any questions, anything else?
No, we answered them along the way.
All right, well, that is Survivor 47. 47 will wrapped up nicely. So, okay, we have Christmas and New Year's coming up here, and then once we're done with that, January rolls around, we're going to get back and do our rewind. We'll probably just get one season in before 48. Go Wrong will be next, 32, What Could Go Wrong? And yeah, I believe, I think Survivor timing, I think that'll be the only one we do most likely, unless something crazy happens.
The winter off season shorter.
Yep. So we'll just get the one in. That's exciting. I love Go Wrong.
I am so excited to revisit this one as a Survivor super fan.
Yep.
Because this feels like my version of Samoa. What happened here? We'll see.
Yeah, exciting season, especially post Winners at War. It'll be really fun to go back and watch this winner play.
There's so many things I don't remember.
Yeah, it's a fun season. I'm a big fan of Go Wrong.
I've only watched it once when it was live.
A little controversial with the winner. People have thoughts on that. A lot of thoughts on that one.
That's why I say, as a new fan who came in at 27, this was kind of my Samoa because it's, I think, maybe the most controversial winner since Samoa.
Yeah, it's definitely in the conversation. Definitely controversial. Lot of interesting things to talk about. A lot of fun characters. A lot of good villains. It is a villainous season, and I didn't ever feel like I got too personal. At least in the show, definitely on the island a little bit. Definitely some jerks, and I kind of like it. It's kind of fun.
But we'll save all that for later. We're gonna bury the lead.
Yep. So I'm excited to get to Go Wrong, guys. Is there anything else tonight?
Just a general appreciation for the listeners.
Yes.
We grew again. Keep telling your friends who love Survivor. Keep trying to convince your friends to watch Survivor. If we grow the fan base, we keep the show going, and that means eventually Jeff will have to cast me.
Yep. We'll cast everybody else on the planet. There will be 18 people left who haven't played, and Derek will be one of them.
Yes, and one day I will get there. If you mention us anywhere on social media, we'll appreciate that. We don't need to plug all of that again. I just want to again say a big shout out to Ryan for doing our editing. I have to say it at the end of every one of these long seasons. He has long nights. He works weird hours, and he still manages a way to get this done next day most of the time, barring holidays. Yep. Thank you for always being there and being available. Josh has been doing the video editing and does most of the social media stuff, so big appreciation to him there. All I am is a personality on the podcast right now, so I just want to make sure that they get their flowers. Send them to them and send them your appreciation messages if you want to. We love all that.
Yes, thank you again for listening. Those of you who joined us, those of you who stuck with us, thank you. Thank you. It means a lot that people actually care what we have to say about Survivor.
The silly little game show that we all love so much.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't need to shout out all the social media, so if you just need one call to action, leave us a rating. That is going to be the most helpful thing. About 2 seasons ago, I would say, we made a big push for ratings, and we saw the number of ratings go up. And probably by no coincidence, our audience also grew. So if you want to support us, that is the best way to do it. Leave us a good rating. 5 stars. We'll read it on the podcast even.
If it's 5 stars, we'll read it.
If it's 5 stars. So please go do that. It would really help.
And if you are a former Survivor player and you happen to listen, there's no obligation for you to come on the podcast. We just want to know you're out there.
Just let us know.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
They're all big fans of the podcast.
Every single one of them. All right. This has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.